as a medical doctor, I was trained to deliver babies a certain way. So in my medical career as a family physician, I helped at the deliveries of about 1,000 babies over 22 years. And the way I was taught that women should deliver babies was to lie on their backs and put their feet into stirrups. I'll show you, kind of like this. You know? That's what I was, and not only that, as soon as the baby's head began to reach the opening, I was taught to make a cut, to make the opening bigger. That's called an episiotomy. And every doctor, that's how we practice medicine, delivery. This is in normal deliveries, when there was no problem. Okay? Now, then I met some midwives who, at that time in Canada, were working illegally, but they were delivering babies at home. And they taught me that, you know, the woman doesn't have to lie on her back with her feet in the air. And when I questioned that, now pardon me, I'm going to use maybe rude language here, but one of these midwives said to me, "Oh yeah? Try taking a shit lying on your back." So I learned that women could actually squat, or they could stand, or they could lie on their side. And furthermore, miracle of miracles, I learned that I didn't have to cut them, that nature actually knew how to deliver babies. So, but as a medical doctor, you're trained to think only of the dangers that can go wrong. You're not trained to work with nature. Now, midwives and doulas are trained to work with nature. Now, it's not arguable, it's not controversial that modern obstetrics can save lives of mothers and babies. So it's a miracle. But unfortunately, we've come from a situation of interfering only when we have to interfering all the time. Now, birth is not just a way of getting a baby out from the uterus. It's actually an important life experience. Physiologically, it's a life experience. Psychologically, it's a life experience. Physiologically, it's a life experience because during birth, during natural birth, both in the mother and in the baby, there are hormones that are released. And some researchers have called that a love cocktail. Though that mix of hormones help the mother bond with the baby and the baby bond with the mother. When we interfere with that, we're interfering with the release of those hormones. Furthermore, when we only expect danger, secondly, guess what, there's been research now. Doctors, somebody I know actually, a Canadian doctor, did formal research about 30 years ago. You know what they found out? You don't have to cut every woman. Nature actually can get the baby out of there without your help. Amazing. Because first you make a cut, then you have to sew it up. You make a wound when it's not necessary most of the time. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not. So, we're interfering. There's another very important aspect here, which is that birth is probably one of the most experiences, not probably, it's one of the most important experiences a woman goes through. Now, one of the needs of people, anybody, is that they have agency. Agency is the capacity to make the decisions for yourself about how your life's going to go. We all need that. When we reduce the woman, and this doctor friend of mine who did the research on episiotomies, these cuts, he said that the way we train doctors is like their pelvis is an explosion waiting to happen. Now, when you reduce a woman to explosion waiting to happen, you're taking away their agency. And that will have an impact on how they raise their children. Because what we're teaching women is you can't trust your own bodies. You have to listen to the experts. In fact, you have to surrender yourself to the experts. Whereas doulas and midwives, they're there to support the woman in their own agency. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should have a natural birth. I'm not prescribing how people should give birth. What I'm saying is that they need to have agency. And modern medicine takes that away. And that'll affect how they raise their children. Because it'll cut them off from it'll help to cut them off from their own instincts. So there was a very interesting book published in the United States maybe 7-8 years ago now. It was about women who come from Asia. These are Hmong women, H-M-O-N-G. They come from Southeast Asia. Without going into the history of it, a large community of them came to the United States. And they clashed with the medical system because these women refused to lie down and put their feet into stirrups. These women refused to give permission for these episiotomies. They gave birth squatting. Their husbands were behind them and massaged their bellies with their saliva, and they hummed to them. And for some reason, these crazy women wouldn't accept the American way of delivering babies. So, around the world, the rate of cesarean section is going up. In my province of British Columbia, Canada, it's almost 40% now. Almost 4 every 10 births are happening with cesarean section. And this is increasing all around the world. It's been studied. There's been big research on it the last few years. In China, it's going up, and especially amongst well-educated, higher-class women, because they're so disconnected from their bodies, and they're so intent on their careers. So we're doing great damage to our children and to the mothers by the way we are delivering babies. And I'm sure you know the work of Michel Audin, the French obstetrician, and he said that we need to give birth back to the midwives, which means giving it back to nature. That's what she said, and I totally agree with him. Let me tell you one story from my new book. This is unbelievable. This is a woman in California. Her name is Sherry Dolman. She was 17 years old when she had her first baby, a traumatized teenager, all by herself. So the delivery naturally didn't go very well. So she had a cesarean section. 17 years later, she gets pregnant again. And she wants to have a non-medical delivery. So she goes to obstetricians, 10 obstetricians. And they all tell her, no, you can't have a baby vaginally after you've had a cesarean section. Now, here's what's amazing about it. Medically, they were totally wrong. By the time they said that, there was lots of research showing the absolute safety of what's called VBAC, vaginal birth after cesarean section. It wasn't even controversial. But none of these obstetricians were willing to support her non-medicalized birth. She even went to see a specialist in high-risk pregnancy who did a detailed ultrasound scan of her uterus, and he said, your risk of a problem of your uterus tearing is no greater than it would be as if you'd never had a child. This is official opinion. Despite that, the obstetrician said, no, we're going to book your cesarean section. And Sherry kept saying, no, I won't do that. Then she goes to the hospital for a routine ultrasound around 38 weeks. When she tries to leave the hospital, they stop her and they said, we're going to arrest you if you don't agree to the cesarean section. We're going to arrest you for harming your baby. They literally forced her into a cesarean section. That was the second baby. By the time she had her third baby, she was working with a midwife in British Columbia, a good friend of mine actually, a midwife. She had a vaginal birth, totally healthy. She said it was the most painful, but the most exhilarating experience of my whole life, because I was in charge. This is 7 or 8 years after, 10 obstetricians told her that this is impossible. And then she had, 3 years later, she had a fourth baby, over 9 pounds, 4 or more kilograms, vaginally. This is again after she was told by all these specialists. So I'm telling you, the medical world is hard to explain, the rigidity and the lack of openness. And what's worse, their failure to even look at the science. We keep talking about, I'm not attacking individual doctors here. There are many great ones. I'm talking about the ideology of the system. It's so rigid, it's so afraid of nature, it's so afraid of trusting individuals and their own healing process. It so wants to be in control and to dominate and to be absolutely safe that actually we're making people's lives much harder in so many ways. So that's the story with obstetrics. And this is true not just here in Czechia, but it's true everywhere.